Yes, welcome students. Today we want to look at some statistics and especially the pie chart. So we have a pie chart here, and it says that this pie chart illustrates how a manufacturing company spent its budget for a year on various items as indicated below, right? So each of the letters in this pie chart represents items on which money has been spent, right? So we have W for wages and salaries, R for raw materials, T for transportation, and E for electricity and telephone bills. And of course, M is for miscellaneous, right? Now the company spent $875,000 on electricity and telephone bills. And you're asked to calculate the total budget. That's A, the amount spent on raw materials under B, and for section C, the percentage of the budget spent on wages. All right, so we're going to begin with section A first. All right, so we know that 14 degrees rather, is allotted to what? What is 14 degrees allotted to? Electricity. Electricity and telephone. And that amounts to how much? 875,000. So there's an association between 14 degrees and that. So we could say 14 degrees is equal to 875,000, and 1 degree, we're going to use a unitary measure. 1 degree will be equal to 875,000 divided by 14 degrees. It's a ratio. Therefore, 360 degrees, which represents the entire circle, right? Which includes all the items being spent on, will give you the budget. So if you want to determine the total money spent or the total budget for everything, you have to multiply this factor, because this is a conversion factor. This conversion factor must be multiplied by 360. So we're going to have 875,000 over 14 degrees multiplied by 360 degrees, right? The degrees, since we're dealing with budget, we have to cancel out the degrees. And when we work this out, this works out to approximately 22,500,000. Just do the math and you will tend to agree with me. So the answer for this section A is actually 22,500,000. Right? So section B is now asking for the amount spent on raw materials. If you go back to the chart, we see that raw materials is here. It doesn't give us a measure. There's no angular measure for raw materials. So what we need to do to determine this measure is to total all of these degrees and subtract the total from 360 to be able to find this measure. So we're going to do that now. So we could say in section B, amount spent on raw materials raw materials would be actually 360 degrees in terms of the measure now. We're working out the measure first. And we're going to subtract 107 degrees plus 18 degrees based upon what is in the chart plus 14 degrees. Sorry about the blur. I'm not sure why this camera is not behaving itself. Plus 53 degrees. This is going to be 360 degrees minus, I think it comes up to 192. So when you add everything up here, it comes up to 192. So this is going to be equal to 168 degrees. So now that we know the measure of the raw materials, we can easily calculate based upon what we did before down here. We got the amount for this, which was 14 degrees. So we know that 14 degrees is equivalent to 875,000. So we can say, since 14 degrees is equal to 875,000, then 1 degree will be equal to what? $875,000 divided by 14 degrees, and therefore 168 degrees, which is really the amount spent amount on raw materials. This is going to be equal to 875,000 over 14 degrees multiply by this 168. So the degrees will cancel. And what this amounts to is going to be, when you put everything into the calculator, it's going to be 10,500,000. Wow, that's a lot of money spent on raw materials. This sounds like a thriving business. So that was part B. So you can see clearly that there's a relationship between the degrees and the amounts. And once you know the relationship, once you find 1 degree what it's worth, which is this is a factor, this is the conversion factor, using the unitary measure, we're able to calculate 168 degrees, and which led to 10,500,000. And that is the approach we have to take. So C now, for section C, they're asking us to determine what? We're asked to determine the percentage of budget spent on wages. Okay, we know that the budget spent on wages is 107 degrees. So what we're going to do, we're going to put 107 degrees over 360. That becomes a fraction or a ratio, and then we multiply that ratio by 100%. So we could say then, and that's going to equal to what now? 107 degrees over 360 degrees multiplied by 100%. So we're left with 1070 over 36, and that is going to be equal to what? When you put that into the calculator, you're going to get 29.7%. And this is your answer. So the key thing to remember with pie charts is that these degrees have a relationship with the items being mentioned in the pie chart. And once they give you the figure for one of the items, which you can associate with a particular amount of degree, then you can extrapolate. You can actually use 14 degrees to represent that, and then you use 1 to represent a conversion factor. And if you wanted to find out what the amount spent on wages and salaries are, then you would establish a relationship between 14 and 107, and you calculate just like how we did the three sections here. There's always a relationship between the measure of the angle and the amount of money being spent on each item. So I trust you found this video informative and educational. Please remember to subscribe and to like the video. Thank you very much.